The stars stretched endlessly above the bridge of the Galvani flagship. Vornath. Commander Kalix stood silently, his eyes scanning the void, yet his mind was far from calm. The reports about Earth had come in steadily for months, filling the Galvani High Command with curiosity, admiration, and a faint unease that no officer would openly admit. Earth was small, backward, insignificant, at least on the surface. Its technology was primitive compared to the Galvani war engines, its fleets tiny, its defenses laughable. Yet the planet endured. "They are primitive," hissed First Officer Ralvek, leaning close to Kalix. "Their weapons are weak. Their fleets are tiny. Any skilled commander could crush them in a day." Kalix turned slowly, his gaze sharp. "And yet they survived when other worlds perished," he said softly, almost to himself. "They thrive in places no life should survive. They endure storms that would destroy our colonies, poison that would kill our children, heat and cold that would make our soldiers scream. They survive. Everything. That is the part no report can measure." Ralvek frowned, skeptical, but did not argue further. Silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's engines. Beyond the viewports, the galaxy was a black sea, speckled with stars that seemed distant and cold. To the Galvani, it was a stage ready for conquest. To the humans, it was a battlefield they had long been preparing for, though no one outside their own world could understand how fully. Far below, on Earth, the atmosphere was calm. Cities glittered like tiny constellations across the continents. Families laughed in small apartments. Children played in dusty streets, farmers tended their fields, unaware of the massive fleet approaching from beyond the stars. Satellites hidden quietly in orbit scanned the void, their sensors picking up the Galvani ships. On the surface, Earth's leaders met in secure bunkers, their faces pale but resolute. Admiral Soren, a man whose eyes had seen more battles than most soldiers could imagine, spoke to the council. "We are outnumbered," he said. "Their technology is far beyond ours. They will strike with full force. There is no way to stop them head-on. The only option is survival. Hide, protect the civilians, and wait. Wait for something that no one in this galaxy fully understands." A young officer raised a hand, trembling slightly. "Sir, we can't just wait. We have to fight." "We have to," Soren shook his head. "No, we cannot fight their strength. But we can fight with our nature. We can endure what they cannot. We are Deathworlders. Our species has survived more than any of theirs. And if we hold fast, if we endure, we will make them regret underestimating us." The room went quiet. The term Deathworlders carried weight, a reminder of humanity's long history of survival against impossible odds. Humans had learned to live on planets of boiling deserts, frozen wastelands, and storm-choked jungles. Each generation trained not just to survive but to adapt, to fight back, to endure. They were resilient, stubborn, and unbroken. Back on the Galvani ship, Kalix walked slowly along the bridge. His eyes lingered on the tiny blue dot on the tactical display. Earth. A simple, fragile world, yet it had endured when countless others had fallen. He could not shake the feeling that this mission, this invasion, would be unlike any other. "They could not win," Ralvek muttered, as if reading Kalix's thoughts. "They are only humans." Kalix stopped, his gaze hard. "Never call them only humans, they are Deathworlders. And if we are not careful, they will show us why." In orbit above Earth, automated defenses hummed softly, satellites hidden in cloaks of radiation and stealth technology. Civilian transports, small but swift, were being readied. Every underground shelter, every fortified city, every secret human stronghold waited patiently. The humans did not panic. They had faced extinction before, and they had learned that fear was a tool for the enemy, not a companion. Far away, the Galvani fleet drifted closer. Ships glimmered under distant suns, their weapons ready, their crews confident. They believed victory was certain. They believed Earth was just another stop on the path of conquest. They did not know what waited beneath the surface. They did not know what patience could do. On the bridge of a small human vessel, Captain Marin watched the approaching fleet through a cracked viewport. Her hands gripped the console tightly. Behind her, her crew moved with calm efficiency, each member trained to handle panic, hunger, exhaustion, and fear. They had been waiting for this moment, not for victory, but for survival. Marin spoke softly, almost to herself. "We are ready. They will see what Deathworlders can do." The stars continued to stretch endlessly above. The Galvani could strike at any moment. They believed humanity was weak, fragile, and easily crushed. But they could not know that Earth's children forged in fire and storms were prepared to endure the impossible. And so the calm stretched across the galaxy. The calm before the storm, the moment before the Deathworlders of Earth would rise. No one could see it yet, but the universe was about to learn a lesson it would never forget. The silence of space shattered as the Galvani Armada dropped out of hyperspace near the outer colonies. Hundreds of massive ships hung like predators waiting to pounce, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Commander Calyx watched from the bridge of Vornath, a cruel smile playing on his lips. At last, he thought, the fragile humans of Earth would face the full might of the Galvani Empire. They cannot resist us, First Officer Ralvek whispered. Their fleets are nothing compared to ours. Any resistance will crumble. Calyx nodded, but a small knot of unease tightened in his chest. His sensors had detected strange anomalies, patterns in human movement and coordination that did not match any known logic. Still, he pushed the feeling aside. He had conquered worlds before. Earth would be no different. Far below, in the human-controlled sectors, panic did not rule. Captain Marin's ship cut through space with precision, weaving between asteroid belts and nebula clouds. Her crew was tense but trained. Every man and woman on board had faced simulations meant to test the limits of endurance, courage, and ingenuity. They knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and perhaps outmatched, but fear was not an option. Enemy fleet detected, Marin's communications officer reported, voice steady. They're moving fast, weapons online. Marin's hands tightened on the console. Prepare all countermeasures. Civilian transports, take your routes. Evacuate the colonies. No ship stays behind unnecessarily. Every life counts. Below, humans on the planets themselves braced for impact. Cities fell silent as automated defense systems hummed to life. Energy shields flickered across major installations. Small but clever traps were deployed in orbital paths, and underground bunkers activated, sealing civilians inside. The Deathworlders of Earth had faced extinction before, and they had learned patience, strategy, and survival. The first strike came without warning. Galvani cruisers fired plasma beams into space, ripping apart fragile human ships with terrifying ease. Explosions blossomed like flowers in the void, leaving trails of debris and burning metal. Captain Marin gritted her teeth as alarms screamed around her. Focus on survival, she shouted. Do not try to match them ship for ship. Use the terrain. Use the asteroids. Use everything we have. Despite the chaos, small victories began to emerge. Human ships, nimble and clever, darted between debris fields, firing coordinated strikes at the Galvani vessels. They used every trick Earth's engineers could devise, from decoy drones to electromagnetic pulses that temporarily disabled enemy shields. Every loss they suffered was measured, controlled, and countered. On the surface, humans faced their own nightmare. Galvani landing pods hit the planet's atmosphere, their occupants stepping onto foreign soil with overconfidence. They expected easy victory. What they found was a world alive with hazards. Acid rain burned through their armor. Storms of wind and lightning tore through their ranks. And venomous wildlife, long considered untamable by outsiders, ambushed them at every turn. Sergeant Val led a squad of human soldiers through a ruined city, using the shadows to move silently. Keep low, she whispered. They think this is just another planet. They don't know what they're facing. Her team nodded, eyes wide but resolute. These were the Deathworlders, humans who had learned to endure what other species could not. They had trained in toxic deserts, frozen wastelands, and storm-ravaged jungles. Every step was instinct, every movement calculated. Their mission was simple: survive, protect, and strike back when the time came. Back in space, Commander Calyx began to realize that the humans were not panicking. Each counterattack was precise, each maneuver calculated. His ships were powerful, but against the humans' ingenuity, they were sluggish and predictable. A missile struck the flagship Vornath, and for the first time the commander felt unease. The humans were learning. They were adapting. They are faster than expected. Ralvek muttered, disbelief in his voice. How can this be? Calyx said nothing. He only stared at the display, the knot in his chest growing tighter. Humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived disasters, wars, and countless hardships. He could see it now. They were survivors by nature. He had underestimated them, and the consequences were beginning to show. On the planet, civilians huddled in underground shelters holding their children close. They had been taught to wait, to endure, and to trust that humanity's strange resilience would protect them. Outside, the storm of war raged. Explosions tore through the landscape, but every human on the surface knew something deep inside. Survival was possible. The humans of Earth had always survived. They always would. Captain Marin looked at the stars, her eyes burning with determination. She knew the battle was only beginning and many lives would be lost. But she also knew the truth that her enemies could not yet see. The humans of Earth were not fragile. They were not weak. They were Deathworlders, and soon Commander Caelix would learn the same lesson that every conqueror before him had learned. Humans did not fight like other species. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans survived. And when the time came, humans fought back with a fury that no alien could predict. The ground shook as the first Galvani landing pods touched down on Earth's outer colonies. Heat, wind, and debris tore across the plains as alien soldiers stepped onto the surface, their armor gleaming and their weapons humming with deadly energy. They expected weak, scattered humans easy prey to showcase their empire's power. What they found was something entirely different. Sergeant Val crouched behind a shattered wall, her squad spread out in careful formation. Dust and smoke filled the air, stinging their eyes, but they moved like one entity. Silent, precise, deadly. "Wait for my signal," she whispered. "Let them come closer. Let them feel safe. Then strike." The aliens laughed, their voices distorted through their helmets. "Primitive creatures," one of them muttered. "They will not survive a single attack." Val's eyes narrowed. Survival was not just a skill. It was instinct. Earth soldiers had trained for conditions that would kill any ordinary life form. Heat that could melt circuits, storms that could tear buildings apart, venomous creatures, radioactive wastelands, they had endured all. Every human here had been forged into a weapon by the world itself. A landing pod exploded miles away, a trap triggered by a simple sensor hidden under sand. The aliens paused, confused, and that pause was enough. From the shadows, human soldiers struck using improvised weapons, explosives, and tactics that no alien could anticipate. One by one, the invaders fell. The humans were relentless, appearing from impossible angles, moving with a speed born of desperation and training. Meanwhile, in the dense forests near the coast, another squad ambushed a Galvani patrol. They had camouflaged themselves using mud, leaves, and paint that blended perfectly with the surroundings. The aliens fired wildly, but each shot was countered with precision. Humans fought not only with weapons but with the environment itself. Trees became shields, rocks became projectiles, rivers concealed traps. Every corner of Earth had been adapted into a battlefield designed to destroy invaders. Sergeant Val moved through the chaos with calm determination. She could see fear in the eyes of her team, but also courage. Each human fought not only for survival, but for family, for home, for the very planet that had made them who they were. "This is Earth," she whispered to herself. "You cannot take what you do not understand." Back in orbit, Captain Marin coordinated human fleets. Though their numbers were small, the humans moved like a single organism, anticipating Galvani strategies before the enemy could execute them. Mines hidden in asteroid belts detonated at perfect moments, ripping apart the enemy fleet. Cloaked ships emerged from nebulae to strike the Galvani flanks. Every attack was a lesson. Every retreat a calculated step toward victory. Commander Caelix watched the carnage from his flagship. His expression had changed. Confusion, frustration, and a hint of fear now clouded his usually cold eyes. The humans were not just surviving. They were adapting, learning, evolving faster than any other species he had encountered. "Impossible," he muttered. "They are only humans." He could see now that the reports had been incomplete. The humans were Deathworlders. The word carried weight not because of strength or size, but because of endurance, resilience, and an uncanny ability to survive situations that would destroy others. They had survived storms that flattened cities, toxins that corroded flesh, and creatures that could devour armies. And now, faced with the might of the Galvani Empire, they fought back with precision and ferocity that shocked even seasoned commanders. On the planet's surface, civilians watched from underground shelters. Children clutched their parents' hands, eyes wide, yet a strange hope lingered. Their ancestors had survived floods, earthquakes, wars, and disasters beyond imagining. Humanity had always endured. And now, seeing their soldiers strike with courage and cunning, they understood that the adults above were no longer just defending territory. They were showing the true heart of humanity. Sergeant Val's squad secured a fallen alien transport. They scavenged weapons, learning to use the enemy's technology against them. "Adapt and survive," Val said, her voice firm. "This is how we win." Her squad nodded, a bond formed through shared danger and unwavering determination. Every human on that battlefield knew one truth. Earth had trained them to survive, but it had also taught them to fight for the impossible. Above, in orbit, Marin sent a message to all remaining human forces. "They think we are weak. They do not know Earth. They do not know what it means to be Deathworlders. Strike where they least expect. Survive where they cannot. Adapt and endure. We will not fall." Calyx watched the display, disbelief etched across his face. Every calculation, every plan he had made was unraveling. The humans were not just surviving. They were teaching the Galvani a lesson that no one had taught in centuries. Do not underestimate the Deathworlders of Earth. As the first night fell over the colonies, the battle continued. Explosions lit the sky. Fires raged across plains and forests, and the cries of battle echoed through the air. But amidst the chaos, a quiet determination remained. Humanity had waited for this moment. Humanity had prepared for this impossible fight. And as long as even a single human remained standing, Earth would not fall. In that moment, one truth became undeniable. The resistance had awakened, and it would not stop until every invader had learned the cost of underestimating humans. The battle had raged for hours, but now, the humans of Earth began to change the course of the fight. From orbit to the planet's surface, every human move was precise, every action deliberate. They no longer ran, they advanced. They no longer hid, they struck. The Deathworlders were showing the galaxy why Earth had survived countless catastrophes. Captain Marin's fleet danced among asteroid belts, dodging Galvani plasma fire and returning precise attacks. Each human ship was small, but the pilots were fast and clever. They used the environment itself as a weapon, hitting the enemy with asteroids, magnetic storms, and improvised mines. Every attack was calculated to cause maximum damage with minimum risk. "Target their command ship," Marin ordered, her voice calm and sharp. "If we can disrupt their coordination, we can turn the battle." Her crews obeyed instantly. Missiles and electromagnetic pulses surged toward the flagship Vornath, and for the first time, Commander Calyx felt true fear. The humans were not predictable. They adapted, learned, and countered. Every strategy he tried failed. On the planet's surface, Sergeant Val led her squad through a burning city, where the air smelled of smoke, blood, and ozone. Galvani troops had overrun some areas, but humans struck back with traps, ambushes, and clever tactics. Buildings became forts. Vehicles turned into barricades. Even civilians helped, luring the aliens into zones where survival was impossible without intense preparation. "They are learning," one of Val's soldiers said, eyes wide as they watched a squad of aliens fall into a pit filled with spikes and fire. Val nodded. "No," she replied firmly. "They are not learning fast enough. Earth teaches them lessons they will never forget." Calyx's communication channels were filled with reports of ships destroyed, landing pods obliterated, and troops annihilated in ways no one could predict. He could no longer command with confidence. The humans were everywhere, striking from every angle, disappearing, then striking again. Every mistake he thought was impossible became reality. In the forests and mountains, the planet itself seemed to rise against the invaders. Toxic gases from the swamps, sudden storms, and even the wildlife participated in the defense. Earth's Deathworlders used it all. A squad of alien soldiers ran into a ravine, thinking it was safe, only to find themselves trapped by a wall of human-made explosives combined with collapsing terrain. Each tactic, each plan was brutally effective. On orbit, Marin sent a fleet of decoys toward the enemy's flank. They seemed weak, small, and vulnerable. But as they approached, hidden human ships struck from behind, tearing through Galvani cruisers like a predator attacking its prey. The humans' cunning and patience were unmatched. Each loss they suffered was measured, each sacrifice purposeful. Survival had always been humanity's strength, but now it became their weapon. Calyx paced on the bridge of his command ship. His pride, his arrogance, even his confidence, all were crumbling. He had conquered countless worlds, defeated entire fleets, but never had he faced an enemy like this. Humans were not just resilient, they were unstoppable when cornered. He had underestimated them, and that was a mistake he would never forgive himself for. "Commander," Ralvek said nervously, "we cannot hold them. Their tactics, they are beyond anything we have seen." Calyx stared at the tactical display. Ships he had thought invincible were falling, yet human casualties were surprisingly low. The humans had prepared for this. They had trained their people to survive impossible conditions, to fight when hope seemed gone, to endure pain and fear without surrender. "They do not fight like other species," Calyx muttered. "They endure. They adapt. They survive." On the planet, civilians watched the alien soldiers retreat through shattered towns and forests. The humans had taught the invaders something vital. Earth did not belong to the weak. And as the night fell, the stars lit up with human ingenuity, small ships flashing across orbit, flares illuminating the burning cities, signals of resistance that no enemy could ignore. Sergeant Val's squad regrouped on a hill overlooking the city. The ground was scarred with fire and battle, but the humans were alive, standing proud despite exhaustion. "They thought we would break," Val said softly. "They thought Earth was fragile. They were wrong." Captain Marin's voice came through comms, steady and strong. "We fight not just to survive, but to show them that humanity cannot be conquered." The Galvani believed in numbers, in strength and fear. We fight with what they cannot understand. Courage, heart, and survival. The fleet above and the soldiers below moved in perfect unison. They struck as one, vanishing and reappearing, overwhelming the invaders in ways that defied logic. Slowly, deliberately, the tide of the battle shifted. The Galvani, confident just hours before, now retreated, confused and fearful. They had underestimated humans. They had underestimated Deathworlders. And on Earth, a quiet thought passed through every human heart. Survival was their nature. Fight, endure, adapt, this was the rhythm of humanity. They did not need to conquer. They only needed to survive. And in surviving, they had become an unstoppable force. The stars glimmered above as the first signs of hope spread across the battlefield. The humans had turned the tide. The Deathworlders were awake. The Galvani would never be the same. The smoke of battle still hung over the ruined cities, but for the humans, it was not a sign of defeat. It was proof of survival. Captain Marin moved through the shattered streets with her squad, eyes sharp and heart steady. The alien invaders had expected chaos, fear, and surrender. What they found instead were people who refused to break. Sergeant Val's team cleared a collapsed building, finding a family trapped beneath debris. The mother, clutching her young daughter, looked at them with wide eyes. "Please," she whispered. "Can you save us?" Val knelt beside them. "We're here," she said firmly. "You will survive. That's what we do, we survive together." The girl stared at Val with awe, and for a brief moment the chaos of war faded. These moments, the quiet bravery, the hope clinging to every heartbeat, were what made humans dangerous. Not weapons, not numbers, not strategy. It was their heart, their ability to endure, to protect, to rise even when everything fell apart. Marin's comms crackled. "All units report," she said. "We need every human alive to move forward. Every survivor counts. Every life matters." The reports came in, broken and hurried, yet filled with determination. Civilians who had hidden underground emerged to help soldiers, using whatever tools they had. Makeshift barricades, scavenged weapons, and courage beyond measure. Every act of defiance, every hand extended to save another, strengthened the resolve of those fighting. On the battle-scarred plains, soldiers set traps for the retreating Galvani. Val moved swiftly, guiding a squad through the wreckage. "Remember," she whispered, "they may have numbers, but we have Earth. We have each other, and we have the will to survive. That is more powerful than any weapon they carry." A sudden explosion rocked the ground, throwing dust and debris into the air. One of Val's soldiers went down, a deep cut across his arm. Yet even as he struggled to stand, another teammate reached for him. "You're not alone," the soldier said. "We don't leave anyone behind." The words carried more weight than any battle cry. Humanity fought not just to survive. They fought for family, for friends, for every life they could save. Every step they took forward, every alien they repelled was a statement. Earth belonged to the humans, and no one could take that away. In the skies above, Marin's fleet coordinated with the ground forces. Small ships darted through debris and smoke, supporting squads below with precise strikes. Each maneuver was calculated, each action measured, and each success celebrated silently, with nods and glances instead of fanfare. They had learned long ago that pride was for the weak and focus was for the survivors. Calyx watched in disbelief from his command ship. The humans were more than he had imagined. They fought with heart, with cunning, and with an unyielding will. His mighty fleet, powerful and advanced, was faltering against beings he had considered insignificant. How could these fragile creatures who had survived only because their world was harsh challenge an empire? And yet, they did. On the planet, civilians took part in the battle in ways Calyx could not anticipate. Farmers used tractors and harvesters as weapons, schoolchildren helped set up barricades, and medics worked tirelessly to save lives under fire. Every human, no matter their age, skill, or strength, contributed. Their planet had taught them endurance, and now that endurance became a weapon. Marin paused on a hill overlooking a burning city, her eyes meeting Val's over the comms. "Look at them," she said softly. "Do you see? They are more than soldiers. They are hope, courage, and determination. This is what makes us strong. This is what makes us human." Val nodded, her gaze sweeping across the battlefield. She saw wounded soldiers helping each other, civilians guiding medics, children passing water to those in need. Even amidst death and destruction, life persisted. Every human who survived was a symbol of defiance, a testament to the unbreakable spirit of Earth. The Galvani, scattered and battered, began to retreat, their confidence shattered. They had underestimated humanity at every turn. They had assumed fear and panic would dominate. They had assumed survival was impossible. But the Deathworlders had proven them wrong. As night fell, the fires of the cities glowed like distant stars, illuminating the scars of battle and the courage of those who endured. Marin looked at the survivors, weary but resolute, and whispered to herself, "We survive. We endure. We rise. That is who we are." In the aftermath, a quiet understanding spread among the humans. They had faced an empire, a force far greater than themselves, and yet they had stood tall. Their hearts, their courage, their unwillingness to surrender had changed the course of the battle. The universe would remember this day, the day the Deathworlders of Earth reminded everyone that survival was not weakness, but the greatest strength of all. And somewhere deep in space, Commander Calyx realized the truth that humans had known all along. The heart of humanity was stronger than any weapon, cleverer than any plan, and more enduring than any empire. The battlefield was a storm of fire and smoke. Human ships darted through orbit while soldiers and civilians fought side by side on the planet below. The Galvani fleet, once confident and proud, now faltered under the relentless assault. Their mighty weapons could not pierce the ingenuity, endurance, and courage of the humans they had thought weak. Captain Marin stood on the bridge of her flagship, eyes locked on the enemy flagship Vornath. Her fingers flew over the controls, coordinating every maneuver, every strike with precision born of countless drills and survival lessons learned in harsh worlds. "All units, focus on the command ship," she ordered. "Disrupt their coordination. Show them Earth is not theirs to take." In the streets of a burning city, Sergeant Val led her squad through the chaos. Alien troops tried to regroup, but the humans had anticipated every move. Explosions rumbled around them, yet Val's soldiers remained calm, moving with unbreakable focus. They rescued the wounded, redirected civilians, and used the ruined buildings to their advantage. Every human was a soldier, every civilian a part of the resistance. "They think they can overwhelm us with numbers," Val muttered. "But they forget. The Earth teaches its children to endure what no one else can. We survive, and we fight." From orbit, human pilots launched a coordinated strike on the enemy fleet. Ships that seemed small and fragile struck with deadly precision, disabling Galvani cruisers and cutting supply lines. Mines hidden in asteroid fields detonated at exactly the right moment, tearing holes in the enemy formation. The humans moved like one organism, each action complementing the other. Their strategy a combination of instinct, experience, and daring bravery. Commander Calyx watched his flagship taking damage, his confidence cracking. "They cannot be this strong. They are only humans." He barked, but it was true. They were humans. And humans were Deathworlders. They had survived storms that could melt steel, viruses that could kill entire populations, radiation that would destroy lesser species. Every hardship, every death, every battle had forged them into creatures capable of enduring the impossible. And now, faced with an empire, they fought not out of hope of victory, but out of the raw, unyielding will to survive. On the ground, civilians and soldiers fought together in perfect harmony. Children carried supplies, medics tended the wounded under fire, and engineers turned rubble into barricades and traps. Even those who had never held a weapon before learned quickly, adapting to the horrors around them. Their planet had taught them endurance. Now that endurance became a weapon that no alien could understand. Marin's voice came over the comms, firm but filled with determination. Strike now. Focus your efforts on the command ships. Disable them. Let them know that no one conquers Earth without paying a price. The attack was swift and devastating. Human ships coordinated with ground forces, creating diversions, striking flanks, and collapsing enemy formations. The Galvani flagship Vornath shuddered as its shields failed under multiple synchronized strikes. Calyx's crew scrambled, alarms blaring as the humans closed in from every side. On the battlefield, Val's squad cornered a group of Galvani soldiers. They had nowhere to run. Val raised her weapon and whispered, "This is Earth. You cannot take it." With a single motion, the squad neutralized the invaders, precise and efficient, leaving no survivors. Every strike, every maneuver was a message. The Deathworlders did not yield. Calyx finally understood the truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were unstoppable when cornered. Every tactic he tried failed. Every strategy was anticipated. The humans' resilience, ingenuity, and courage had shattered his arrogance. They were a force beyond his understanding. Marin's fleet struck the final blow. The Vornath erupted in a storm of fire and debris, its crew scattering, fleeing in panic. Across the battlefield, Galvani troops began retreating, their morale shattered, their confidence destroyed. They had underestimated Earth, underestimated the Deathworlders, and now they were paying the price. On the ground, Val watched as the last of the invaders fled. The soldiers were exhausted, wounded, but standing tall. Civilians emerged from hiding, tears in their eyes, relief on their faces, families reunited amid the ruins, children laughing despite the horrors they had witnessed. Humanity had survived, and more than that, it had triumphed against impossible odds. Marin looked at the stars, her eyes burning with pride. "We fought not because we wanted glory," she said quietly. "We fought because we had to. Because this is our home. Because we survive. Because that is what Deathworlders do." The fires burned, the smoke rose, but the humans stood tall. Earth had endured the storm, and in doing so had shown the galaxy a truth that would not soon be forgotten. Humanity could not be conquered. Calyx retreated into the void, humiliated and defeated. He had thought the humans fragile, weak, and simple. He had been wrong. The Deathworlders had survived where no one else could, adapted where no one else would, and fought where no one else dared. And Earth, battered but unbroken, shone like a beacon in the dark. Humanity had stood its ground. Humanity had endured. Humanity had won. The universe would remember the day the Deathworlders of Earth showed up, and those who had doubted them would never make the same mistake again. The battle had ended. But silence did not immediately follow. Smoke curled into the sky, fires burned in broken cities, and debris drifted through orbit. The Galvani armada had retreated, their confidence shattered, their arrogance destroyed. But on Earth, the humans were not celebrating. They were surveying, helping, and enduring. Survival was never finished. It was continuous, relentless, and beautiful in its simplicity. Captain Marin stood on a hill overlooking a city scarred by war. Below her, soldiers and civilians moved together, rebuilding what had been destroyed, rescuing what could be saved. She felt the weight of every life lost, every home destroyed, yet her heart was strong. Humanity had survived. Humanity had endured. And humanity had fought in a way the galaxy had never seen. Sergeant Val knelt beside a small child, shielding her from a falling beam of debris. The girl looked up at Val with wide, trusting eyes, and for a moment the world seemed to pause. "We are safe now," Val said softly. "We are Deathworlders, and Deathworlders survive." Around them, people whispered the same truth. Farmers helped clear rubble. Engineers repaired critical systems. Children passed water to soldiers and medics. The unity, courage, and resilience of humanity shone brighter than any weapon. The Galvani had thought humans fragile, weak and insignificant. They had been wrong. In orbit, Marin's fleet regrouped. Small ships darted among debris, assisting wounded humans and scanning for stragglers from the retreating enemy. Every pilot, every soldier, every civilian played a role. It was not numbers that had won the day, nor weapons alone. It was the heart, the spirit, and the courage of people who refused to surrender. Commander Calyx, floating in his damaged flagship, could not comprehend what had happened. Every plan, every calculation, every assumption had failed. The humans were not only survivors, they were a force of nature. He had underestimated their endurance, their ingenuity, their courage. And now retreat was the only option. The lesson burned into him. Never, ever underestimate a Deathworlder. On Earth, Marin walked through the ruins of a city with her squad. Soldiers comforted the wounded, civilians helped salvage supplies, and everywhere she looked, she saw determination. She stopped to watch a small group of children playing in the dust, laughing despite the destruction around them. That laughter, fragile and defiant, carried a power no weapon could match. Val approached her, voice quiet but firm. They think they could conquer us. They thought we would break. But they did not know Earth. They did not know what it means to be a Deathworlder. We survive, Captain. And when we survive, we fight back. Marin nodded, her eyes glistening. And when we fight back, we teach the universe a lesson. We are not weak. We are not fragile. We are humans. We endure, we protect. We survive. And we rise. Across the planet, humans began to repair what they could, salvage what was possible, and care for the wounded. The fires of battle still glowed in the distance, but a new light shone brighter. The light of hope, courage, and unity. Earth had survived against impossible odds, and the galaxy would never forget it. In quiet moments, Marin reflected on the day's events. They had faced a force that thought them insignificant, fragile, and weak. They had endured fire, storms, alien weapons, and fear, and still they stood tall. Humanity's strength was not measured by technology, numbers, or power. It was measured by heart, by endurance, by the refusal to yield even when the world threatened to crush them. Sergeant Val gathered her squad on a hilltop at dusk. The sun sank behind ruined buildings, painting the sky with red and gold. The soldiers were tired, battered, but unbroken. Remember this, Val said, voice strong. Every time the universe doubts us, every time they think we are weak, they will learn the same lesson we learned today. Humans do not surrender. Humans survive. Humans endure. That is our nature. That is our power. From orbit, Marin watched the stars reflecting on the battle. The humans had survived what no one thought possible. The Galvani had underestimated them, and now they would carry that lesson through the galaxy. The Deathworlders of Earth had proven that survival was not weakness. It was the foundation of strength, the spark of courage, and the heart of humanity. Calyx, retreating into the void, would remember this day forever. He had faced the Deathworlders and lost, not because of firepower or tactics, but because humans had something no empire could calculate: resilience, heart, and an unbreakable will to survive. On the surface, Val and Marin stood together looking over the battlefield. Survivors moved among the ruins, tending to the wounded, salvaging supplies and caring for children. Humanity had survived the impossible, and in doing so it had shown the galaxy what being human truly meant. As night fell, Earth's lights glimmered faintly through the smoke. Somewhere in the darkness, humans whispered a quiet truth. They had waited. They had endured. And now, the universe knew the price of underestimating the Deathworlders of Earth. The galaxy had learned a new lesson that day. Humans were not weak. Humans were not fragile. Humans survived, adapted, endured, and rose against impossible odds. And the universe would never forget the courage of Earth's people, the spirit of the Deathworlders who could only wait, until the moment came to show their true strength.